Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Long Road Podcast. The journey goes ever on with the Long Road. This episode, a Banjo-y Christmas time. All four of the Long Road gather for our Christmas get-together, looking back over 2018 and looking forward to 2019, and bashing at a few Christmas songs as well. So this fortnightly podcast from the Long Road is about our music as a band, our writing, stories, anecdotes, interesting people we meet along the way, and who knows what else. Hola, I'm Chris Lydon, the host of this, the Long Road Podcast. Welcome back to our loyal listeners from around the globe, and welcome to anyone who is new joining us this week for the first time. Remember, all of our previous episodes are up on SoundCloud and iTunes and on the website, vagabondphilosopher.com, so do have a listen to what's come before. Episode 8 this week, the fabled and much talked about Christmas episode, where we didn't really have a plan, but actually had a real hoot winging it, and hopefully you'll enjoy the results as well. The Long Road, that's Steve Bonham, me, Chris Lydon, Kev Moore and John Humphreys. We all gathered at Steve's house in his front room for a mince pie and some mulled wine, or Diet Coke, a bit of a catch-up and a look towards the future. Our instruments were never far away. We bashed out some impromptu songs. Oh, and there were Christmas hats. There really were, but as this is an audio medium, you'll just have to trust me on that one. I think there is a photo knocking about on Facebook that proves that A, we were all in the same room at the same time, and B, we were wearing Santa hats. You know, look us up on Facebook. Look up Steve Bonham on Facebook, and you'll see the proof. So just before we get into the content of this week's podcast, a reminder of some upcoming gigs we've got in early 2019. So Saturday the 19th of January 2019 at 7:30pm will be in Church Broughton in Derbyshire at St Michael and All Angels Church. Friday the 25th of January 2019 will be in London in King's Cross at the Harrison Pub. And then Saturday the 26th of January 2019 will be at the Bantuck House Cafe in Wolverhampton in the West Midlands. So look up Steve Bonham on Facebook to find out the ticket links for all of those things. So, on to this week's episode. What is in it? Well, there is a rather candid, unrehearsed, cutting right to the core of the emotion of the song rendition of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which was preceded by Steve announcing from his kitchen, "Oh, bollocks to this, I'm going to have a glass of wine," which I edited out from the recording. And then he continues to have these veiled references to water or miracle water throughout the podcast. See if you can spot them. I also had to edit out a rather troubling moment when I couldn't say the phrase nipple tassels first time, which is unusual for me. I guess for the context for that, you'll just have to listen in. We also reminisce a bit about our time filming the Girl with a Rattlesnake Heart music video in Spain earlier in 2018. And we go back even further with the memories to the Get Your Boots on tour, which was back in 2013, I think. There's a brief discussion about our Artisan Manifesto, and could a Hammond organ fit under the Artisan banner as an acoustic instrument? You've got to have to keep on listening to find out the results of that discussion. We finish with a scratch performance. The word scratch has never been more aptly used. Performance of Jingle Bells, just to get you in the festive mood, if you weren't already thoroughly Christmassy. So anyway, that's enough from me. On with the show.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if you ever saw him, you would even say it glows. All of the other reindeer used to laugh and call him names. You went over to Rudolph, joining on the reindeer games. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, when Santa came to stay, Rudolph with your nose so bright, won't you drive my sleigh tonight? Won't you drive my sleigh tonight? One more time. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if you ever saw him, you would even say it glows. All like you Christmas Eve when Santa can stay. Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you drive my sleigh tonight? Drive my sleigh tonight. Drive my sleigh tonight. Go Rudolph. Rudolph the red goes blue. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Yeah. This is the most festive that the four of us have looked at the same time.
And I must say the outfits are made for radio.
Thought the nipple tassels were a bit excessive, Steve. Don't know the point for the nipple tassels.
Can you get them going anti-clockwise and clockwise?
For whoever picked the hats, can I say the ends fell off?
You can do your tune.
Oh, me too.
Where's my water gone? That's it.
Yes.
Good glass of water.
Good glass of festive water.
Thank you.
So it goes like that.
Yeah.
There's a distinct lack of festive sausages in this room. I was promised festive sausages.
However, the presence of a dog and the lack of sausages is probably not unconnected. Let's have a festive clink.
Oh.
Yeah, cheers everyone.
Oh, I don't know where my glass is.
You don't just throw this together. You know?
Absolutely.
Best moment this year?
Yes, best one this year was buying my spiky goggles in Tavistock.
That sounds like a euphemism.
Buying the spiky goggles. Probably yes. It was the moment when I completed my ensemble to wear. But no, I think performing in the church in Ashbourne from a long road perspective, I thought that was really really special. The setting was superb.
Yeah, that's great.
And we even looked good on photographs, which was impressive.
Yeah.
For a band that specialises in the radio, that was a good one. That's good. Yeah, what was yours, Chris?
Well, I was thinking on the drive over here that the Artisan Festival was one of those remarkable moments. You know, you've got these mad ideas, Steve, and God, for the last however many 15 years now, we said, right, I've got an idea, Bish. Okay, right. What is that idea? We're going to do a festival. Okay, let's do it. And we did it.
We did.
And it was a great few days. And I think we had some great bands playing, and we had. I think the fact that Stuart was sound engineering for us meant that we didn't have to worry about the sound of it. Stuart just did a great job of.
That was a safety net for me, actually. Yeah, it's like because we got so used to. He's like the sort of fifth member, isn't he? That kind of steers the ship when we're all over the place. So it's quite handy to think, at least Stuart's out there. He'll be making us sound good, whatever we're doing on stage.
And it's one of the things that me and Stu didn't get a chance to speak about when we had our little chat a couple of weeks ago for this very podcast was the Artisan Festival. But I know that in the past, he said it was a good few days for him. And from our point of view, it's just great being able to think, right, well, as Kev said, so don't need to worry about the sound. Stuart's got that covered. And he was doing that thing that all sound engineers do, which I've got no idea about, when they start twiddling with the very small knobs at the top of a mixing desk to do something, and they say, it's to do with the EQ or the something, and then they go and stand in a corner of the room and hum to themselves, and then they go back and twiddle it again. It's like
I don't venture anywhere near that end of the desk. My desk has got centuries of layers of dust up there. I don't go near it.
It's basically on or off.
Yeah,
that'll
two
do,
big ones.
My
louder.
my biggest memory of the festival was how often you guys managed to stow away onto the stage. How many acts did you appear with?
Not as many as John.
Yeah,
John used to steal as well, more than me, I think.
So who did you get?
I can't remember now. I was on with Rob McHale.
Yeah.
Was I with anybody else?
Sammy.
Sammy, yes, of course. I think I was 3.
3. John.
How many? Yeah, 3 others besides yourself.
Were you on with Stephen?
I started off with Andy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Andy.
Yeah. And
Then Rob definitely played Rob.
Yeah.
Marsh.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Sammy.
Sammy. You had 5
Oh, yeah,
of us.
Sammy as well, so 4 of us.
5, yeah, so you did 5.
Yeah.
See, that's how I've ended up playing all these instruments.
This is it.
When I was in the RAF, you'd go wherever I got posted, there'd be a band without an instrument. And they'd say, we need somebody to play this. If you want to join the band, can you play? And yes. And then there'd be a frantic few weeks practicing. But if it's got strings on, they're all pretty much the same, aren't they?
They are.
That
As long as you know
explains
it's
the
tuned
bagpipes.
to.
Yeah.
And now I do play the pipes.
You do, good, isn't it?
See, now you've said that, we're going to be... We'll have them on the next album, I'm sure.
Yeah. Have you got any?
Well, not bad because they're in B flat.
Oh, great.
So,
Finally. My world, finally.
made to play with
One of these
brass.
guys said the word flat. I'm thrilled.
Luckily, my bagpipes are in flat B and I haven't got the keys, so they're just...
I did try playing, because I'm a tuba player, people assume I can play the bagpipes. I remember years ago, we were on a family holiday in Scotland somewhere, and there was a museum that had a what's it called, the top bit of chanter. And I remember so good ago, you'll be good at it, being a tuba player. Couldn't even inflate the bag. It was just, I got absolutely nowhere, and I almost passed out from trying it.
So what was your best moment this year, musically?
Well, I'd say exactly what I was saying 5 minutes ago about the festival, playing with everybody and anybody. I just love that. It's one thing I've got used to with this band. Here's a new song, we're playing it tonight.
Yes.
Well, can we play through it first? No, but I'll tell you what key it's in when I work it out.
Pick an instrument.
What do you want me to play on it? What you got?
What you got here? What's in your pocket? Yeah.
What about you,
Keeps you on your
Steve?
toes.
I think, well, given that you've all talked about the festival, I think, and that sounds a bit sort of blow our trumpet, but the reception for Rattlesnake has been, I could never have, ever have thought Rattlesnake would do that. I mean, I knew it was a good song, and I knew we had a great sound, but I didn't. You don't know that people are going to go. I mean, it's up to 58,000 views on YouTube now.
You can never approach writing a song with that in mind, but that song is just unusual enough and it has something that makes people sit up and listen. And you can never really legislate, because if you could, everybody would be millionaires. You'd write songs like that every day. But sometimes something comes along where the music and the lyrics just do something between them, and it creates something greater than the sum of the parts. And it is one of those songs, and it's, I've always thought that about it, but then you do about your own stuff. But the reaction has been, they get it, they get what it is, and that's nice to see.
It's kind of refreshing, isn't it? That actually, all the reviews we've had in the last few weeks they've managed to get through to what we were trying to do, which you know, the landscape and the story and it not being about thinking, all right, we've got to be as flashy as we can musically, technically, to show off what we can do. It's about making the right environment for the story, and that's what hopefully comes through to everybody.
By and large, all reviews are positive. I've got 3 reviewers that I've got tied up in the basement, and they're coming round to my way of thinking. So we'll be at 100%.
You mentioned creating the right environment for the story. And another memory for me is the second video we did in the Western town. What was it called?
In Tabernus.
That horrendous wind. And we just got towards the end of it, and I think it was the second run through they'd done. And all of a sudden, a bag of flour was emptied about 2 foot from my right ear. And most of it went into the ear. The rest of it's down the shirt.
The Sirocco winds out there are difficult enough without self-raising flour being thrown into the mix. But yeah, Tabernus out in Almeria is a great. It's as near to the Western settings as you'll get, as Sergio Leone and Lee Van Cleef and Clint Eastwood attest to, because they filmed a lot of the westerns out there. So it really fitted the vibe of the songs, and I think the song informed the landscape, and the landscape informed the song, and they've worked really well. I'm quite happy with it.
Yeah, some of the winds that day were crazy, weren't they? I'm amazed that, you know, there's a picture I happened to take of you, Steve just lounging back at one point. But there were the footage of Kev on trying to do his solo. It's like it was, you know, and Kev's a big strong guy, and I'm like forcing.
I was considering actually tying myself to that tree when I was sat down in front of.
That was bonkers.
But it's for those of you who don't know, I actually live in that region, and when I was down on the beach one time, many years ago, the first time I experienced that particular winds that they have down there, the Sirocco, and I was looking down to the end of the beach, and I saw a commotion, what can only be described as commotion in the distance, and the commotion seemed to be getting nearer, and it was like a visual sort of trick, because everybody was gradually standing up and running away, and it was the wind which had picked up the heat from the Sahara, come straight across the Med, and was hitting the beaches, and it was like somebody putting a hairdryer in your face with the hot winds, and everybody was just running for cover, you know. It's character building.
Autumn.
All right.
Are we going to play or to walk?
Are we going to play?
That's all right.
That walking between
I
gigs.
thought you'd planned
I've done
another
that.
walking. By the way, you're all coming with me. I'm not
as
carrying
well
this
known
banjo over 200 miles.
with projects with Steve, I always volunteer to drive the van if there's ever a walk involved.
do you remember the very first time when I started playing again, and I did this tour along Hadrian's Wall, and the idea was I would walk from venue to venue and play a gig that night, and Chris was going to join me, and he'd do the technical stuff, and then he'd join me on stage for that, and then I'd go and walk on to the next one. Except on the very first day, the van drove off without Chris, and his immortal comment was, after 20 minutes, I seem to have joined it. Looking completely perplexed.
Joined the first. I don't know how many miles it was that first day. Not very many, because there was a huge group. There was a huge group of us. So it was a fairly casual first day, but I was quite pleased to be rescued at lunchtime.
Was it a fairly sedentary set the following year?
It was. God, we had it was bonkers week.
Around the River Eden.
We did what? Well, you walked however far it was, and we did 7 gigs in 6 days or something like that, wasn't it? It was.
No, you and I reconnected just after that, didn't you?
Yeah,
I think you just.
Oh yes, it would have been the end of that year, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I was only there for the blisters.
Yeah.
It's great. That was dear old Trish. She sorted that one out.
Yeah.
So, what are you looking forward to next year, Bish?
Oh well, me and Stuart were talking about this, but I suspect we'll end up in the recording studio again.
I think about November.
Because it's, I talked about Woodworm a lot when we were talking with Stuart, but it's just such a great place to make stuff. So no pressure, but we might end up there again.
Yes, it's very conducive to creativity, that place, isn't it? Because it's you feel very at home there, which is important in a studio. I've been in plenty that are very intimidating, which is not conducive to producing your best work. You get tape-on syndrome. So, but it's really nice there, and we seem to be birthing songs fairly regularly.
You haven't heard them yet, Bish?
Well, I'm looking for here.
We've got 3-4 more.
Great.
Yeah.
Do they have a Hammond organ in them?
They must have one. That's the only. Well, actually, see, would you classify Hammond organ strictly as given the fact it's run by a fan and bellows?
Yes.
Is it actually? Can we class it within our acoustic?
Acoustic, Alzan.
Or we've got to find dispensation from the Pope like we have for electric bass.
If you had a fit person operating the fan as opposed to the electricity, then it could theoretically function acoustically. If it could theoretically function acoustically, it should be invited.
So if you think back to before electricity was widespread and what keyboard instruments had power in them would have been the keyboard player's feet.
Harmonium.
And that was that's the power of the feet, powering the bellows.
Yeah.
So I think perhaps we could argue that the forerunner of a Hammond organ would have been a harmonium or anything with a bellows with a.
Well,
when we played at Andy's, the little church in Littleborough, did you try the harmonium?
I
in
didn't
there?
try that there. No.
I have. It's. I find it really difficult not to play or not to pump in time with the music.
Well, that was the same problem I would have with
Yeah.
bagpipes or any sort of those pipes, where the sound production is disconnected from the noise production. Because to me, it's the same problem I have with you guys as string instruments, I'm afraid, is that there's both of my instruments, there's a certain logic to the physicality of it.
Yeah.
You push your hands down on the piano, and they're always in the same place. The black and the white notes don't move, and it's the same sounds. Whereas you guys with a string instrument, if you've got a string tuned a different way, the same shape can be different things.
I've just had this bizarre image of you playing something like at the Highland Fling on the bagpipes. And going so fast with your elbows that you actually took off.
Take off,
You rose into the air.
And anything where the physical action doesn't connect with the production of the sound, I find very disturbing. So I think
a church organ is acoustic, isn't it? Really, original pipe organ.
And usually they used to flog surfs, didn't they, to keep the.
Well, it's the same idea, isn't it? I imagine there was a certain human-powered element originally that made the sound.
One of the UK's finest exponents of Hammond organ, Steve Winwood, I saw him do a piece on the church organ in Northleach in Gloucestershire earlier this year. So and he could still do his thing on an acoustic thing. So I suppose you could pretend we've got a church organ in Woodworm Studios. It looks like a church.
Or we could just write a nice letter to Stuart.
Yeah.
He's got 10 months, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's got plenty of time to make it.
What are you looking forward to next year? What ridiculous plans have you got for next year?
That's probably a better phrased question.
I'm really looking forward. The fact we've become a performing band, because this year's been quite quiet on that front compared with previous years. I think we've got a magic sound now.
Yeah.
And so performing a lot. Is going to be good. I'm really enjoying the fact we're working on another album, but I am determined not to. Break my usual rule and actually try and get this one launched properly first. And because I think we've got great albums. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking the songwriting thing has been amazing, really. All 4 of us are involved in it. Makes it special. And building on what we've done. That's my hopes for next year.
Well, we've kind of a sound has evolved on these 2 albums, hasn't it? Really. And
it's very distinctive, the slide and the acoustic guitars played loud and it's a very piano. It's just a very.
It would be nice to take that further and hopefully it'll feel even more natural as we go.
Bish and I have always dreamt of playing in Reykjavik.
That's the plan. headlining at Reykjavik.
Any particular reason?
I don't really remember.
I think back in the days of mine and Steve's old band, Dr. Bigelow, music's still out there on Spotify if you want to have a listen. It still get listens. You know, we get monthly listens. We get a few pennies every month on Spotify. It was always the joke. I think I must have caught with it, where we made it big time for playing in Longford Village Hall or whatever. But and I'd say next year Reykjavik, and I think it's my fault basically.
Well, I've played in Iceland, but it was aisle 5 and the security guard threw me out.
I'm going to have to find a drum kit sound effect to dot throughout this. Yeah, exactly. I've got one somewhere.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, for the purposes of the interview, Steve has left the building.
He's gone to top of his water, which
that's also a euphemism.
Anyway, we should say Happy Christmas from the Long Road to all the listeners.
We should, yeah.
Thousands of listeners all over the world.
Yeah.
I mean, all over the world is true. There are people all over the world listening to it. Thousands.
Can you say Happy Christmas in Spanish?
I can indeed. So, to all our Spanish listeners, Feliz Navidad!
There we go.
And German?
German. Frohe Weihnacht, I think.
And John? I'm too.
For the purposes of the tape, John is looking blank.
Happy Christmas to everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Joyeux Noël!
Can't work out how to start. Dancing through the snow on a one-horse open sleigh. All the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. Oh, what fun to laugh and sing a sleighing song tonight. Hey! Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Oh! Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Go on. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Someone make a horse noise.
I presumed you meant the front end.
He meant with your mouth. Well, dear listeners, that is it for this, the first series of the Long Road podcast. Thanks so much for listening over the last few months. Do keep letting us know what you think on Facebook or Twitter. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit amazed we managed to get all 8 planned episodes recorded and out on time. Huge thanks to everyone who's helped make them possible and worthwhile. My colleagues in the Long Road, Steve, Kev, John, and the 5th member of the Long Road, Stuart Jones at Woodworm Studios, of course. And it would all be pointless without you, the listener. So thank you very much. We are talking about plans for Series 2 of the Long Road podcast, but we don't have a confirmed start date yet. I suspect we'll be getting going again in sort of maybe mid-late February 2019, so keep on listening out for that. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from so you don't miss an episode. You can listen to past episodes on vagabondphilosopher.com and up on SoundCloud and iTunes and all those places. Follow us on Twitter. So Steve is Steve Bonham01. I'm on Das Chris Lydon, DAS Chris Lydon, LYDON. Kev is on More Music Biz, so MOORE Music Biz, BIZ. And John's still not on Twitter. We'll get in there. Look up Steve Bonham on Facebook to connect with us on there, and you can see all our videos and other bits and bobs. Have a listen to full tracks from our albums on Spotify, and you can buy the complete albums, The Girl with the Rattlesnake Heart and Reliance, and Steve's new book, A Beautiful Broken Dream, at vagabondphilosopher.com. Remember, if you buy the book, you get a code that gets you 10 free track downloads as well, so you can build your own album. And you get to give a friend a code that gives them 10 free track downloads too, so you can spread the joy. So, thanks once again for listening, and the journey with the Long Road continues in 2019. Merry Christmas from the Long Road, and a very Happy New Year. Bye for now.